What's going on, everyone? It's Adam Ayala. Welcome back to the podcast. And if you're finding me on YouTube, you can find my full podcast down below. We join my Facebook group, so you don't have to wait for all these videos to come out every couple of days. So we're here on r/Reddit AskaTherapist, and this thread says my therapist ghosted me. So let's check this out real quick. Just under 2 weeks ago, I tried to reschedule an appointment via text. She never responded. She, the therapist. When I sent a follow-up text 5 days later, she responded in 20 minutes to let me know the appointment is canceled, and that's it. I asked her if I could still reschedule. Haven't heard back since. That was 5 days ago. I just want to know, how long should I wait before I give up on getting in contact with her forever? If she does ever respond, should I go back? Things weren't great between us before, but I was gonna bring it up in the next appointment. Maybe we just work through our difficulties. She won't need to ignore me anymore, and I'll be able to feel safe with her. She used to be really nice. She even said I was one of her favorite clients before things got bad between us, and she used to bring me lots of comfort. It hurts my feelings that she didn't even care enough to say goodbye. I thought she was gonna be there for me as long as I needed, but also, it's only been a week and a half, and she did say she was behind on her texts. Am I just blowing this all out of proportion? Maybe she hasn't abandoned me and I'm just triggered. I don't want to be all dramatic and get a new counselor and then find out my therapist was just having a hard week and couldn't respond to me yet. So I'm gonna stop the reading right here. Okay. If your therapist says they're just behind on text, that's nonsense. We don't get behind on text when it comes to our clients, especially if they're could be some kind of emergency, something like that. And it seems like you've been going to this therapist on a regular basis. You just know that if I'm with someone, I just know that they're coming at 5 p.m., whatever, on Thursday. That's just when they come. We don't even have to communicate back and forth. Just show up and call me if you're not showing up. Maybe this is just different than this therapist works. I'm going to say another thing, looking at this as someone who's trained under psychoanalysis, this seems that this therapist has a transference issue. And when we talk about a transference issue, and specifically a countertransference issue, is that they have a problem within themselves that they have unresolved, that they're pushing onto you, that's being destructive towards your guys' treatment and towards you, because you have to come out and come to Reddit to ask for, why is this happening and what should I do? So this therapist is being ethically, this is an ethical problem. Unless the only cases this is okay is that if they were in a car accident, they're unconscious in a hospital, some type of emergency where they can't do anything about it. And usually we have backup plans. We have another therapist who can find our information and call, like if we died, so you don't just get ghosted. So at best they were irresponsible with that. So this is definitely a problem. I just want to know why she isn't responding to me and what the therapist's perspective is on all this. How do you usually handle things like this with a client? If I don't want to work with a client, we will spend a lot of time terminating. Just because I feel uncomfortable doesn't matter. If you're bringing a gun into the session, or you're saying if you were actually going to do something violent towards me, I don't even think then you ghost. You deal with this. This is something you deal with. And you had it right here. You were going to bring it up in the next appointment. That's what you're supposed to do. So your therapist has severely failed. If you don't want a client anymore, what do you do? If you have a crisis and that's why you can't respond, how do you handle that? Okay, so I talked a little bit about that. Is it similar to what my therapist is doing, or is this a bad situation? It's a bad situation. I think I just want closure. That makes sense. It feels like she's ghosting me because she hates me because I'm a difficult client. This doesn't matter. Say you're the worst client in the world, whatever the worst client in the world is, it doesn't matter. A good therapist doesn't do this. This is not the point. It's not about the therapist's comfort level. They have to work with you and terminate, and at best, mattering if you're seeing them in the clinic, and you have medications tied to it, they have to refer you out. I mean, there's ways you have to do some of these things. If you're doing private pay, like, and it's not through insurance, they can kind of have an out, but it's still irresponsible. It makes me feel worthless and pathetic. Yeah, this is awful. This is not what you need. I wanted to send her another follow-up text asking if she's still my therapist, but if she's trying to get rid of me, that feels even more clingy and pathetic. What's the right thing to do for here? Thanks for any input. I would find another therapist. Like I said, unless there's something really tragic, like they died or they're unconscious in the hospital, can't get to you. There's no excuse here. Or if you threaten them with a knife or something like that in a real way, like actually threaten them with a knife, not just said it. There's no real excuse, and it doesn't seem like you didn't do this. There's nothing in here that says you threatened them in any way, and it doesn't matter how your therapist feel. I would find another therapist and really talk to them about this, because this is gonna mess with the rest of your life and your next therapy and your other close relationships. This is damage. May not be traumatic and affect all your life, or it might. If you're feeling worthless and pathetic and you're worried about clinginess, which is something I imagine you guys talked about in therapy, I would find help pretty immediately. This sucks. This is not fair. It shouldn't happen, but it does. And I'm sorry about that. So psychologytoday.com is a good place to find therapists in your local area. You just go to Psychology Today, type in your area code, and I will look through the list and find someone who's a specialist in whatever you're dealing with. It's depression, PTSD, anything like that. Look through the list, and a lot of therapists on the right side is going to show like a billion things that they deal with. 500 things, depression, anxiety, everything, and then their ways of practicing, it'll show like their CBT and psychoanalytic and psychodynamic. It's another like list of 100 things. They don't represent themselves very well, and there's a good chance they're not super great therapists for whatever you're dealing with, because they're kind of like generalists, right? If you go to a doctor and you're having pain in your hip, you don't stay with your generalist doctor. You go see a hip doctor, right? Or if you have a problem with your eye, you don't go to your primary care doctor as a generalist. You go to an eye doctor, right? You have to find a specialist for what you need. So that's something I would recommend also, to be very careful, especially with what just happened to you. You may be over careful, and that's something, you got to get some help with. You might be scared to find another therapist, and that's totally reasonable. I would be too, even though I'm in the field of like, what the hell is this? So find someone you can trust. See, they have YouTube videos and blogs, and maybe you don't find someone who is in your area code or nearby. You might have to find someone over Skype that you feel familiar with. But like I said, look for them, look through all their content. If they have videos, blogs, whatever, anything that they give out for free where you can see who they are and have an idea of who they are, and then make a choice. Those would be better, more likely better therapists is a better way. There's some great therapists that have nothing out there, and that's unfortunate. I wish they were alive more, they were outside more, but that's a whole other problem that you don't have to worry about. So yeah, this is the bad situation. You're having the right feelings. You're having awful feelings, even though they're the right feelings. I would find someone to get help. So, I'm sorry going through that. I understand that. That's awful. Something I've never done with my own clients, and I hope I never do. That'd be really awful. So I hope you find help.